There's an argument you could make saying the Cubs have the best left fielder and the best right fielder in the National League. And I think right field is tricky too, because of course we know Juan Soto is with the Mets. He's back in the National League. But right when they got Tucker, the Cubs, we said right away, take a look at the numbers. Take a look at the numbers. Kyle Tucker's right there with Juan Soto is an absolute assassin with the bat. He stalks pitchers.
Mm-hmm.
That's why he stalks pitchers with every pitch they throw. He's sitting there waiting like a polar bear, waiting to chomp on a seal. That's the way he looks at the baseball coming at him. Tucker is right there with him offensively, but defensively, he's a better player.
Yeah, so Juan Soto -4 outs above average, and I think it was just 0 defensive runs saved last season with the Yankees, in their Mickey Mouse ballpark that they play in. So interesting to see how his defensive numbers will rank at Citi Field this year. But offense alone, like you just had to put him. You had to put him number 1 on this list.
He's an 8-WAR player that isn't very good defensively.
Right.
That means he's an absolute beast at the plate.
Yeah.
I can't go Tucker better, but Tucker is a more well-rounded player than Juan Soto, but Soto's so extremely good at offense that it's...
He had just to put it out there, like for anyone that like maybe doesn't understand, like he had a 462 expected weighted on base average. Like no one's like Mookie Betts was a 356 expected weighted on base average. 180 WRC plus. I mean, he's just an unreal talent offensively.
That number is crazy. The 180 weighted runs created plus. The fact that he only played 78 games. He hit more home runs than Cody Bellinger did, who played like 150 something games. I mean, if you double his games played, or if you at least get him to like 150, he's probably an 8-WAR player. Like, I don't think it's crazy to have a discussion Tucker versus Soto. I think the issue is just Soto's so much younger. That's why he's going to get paid into the $700 million.
Yeah.
But I mean, Tucker should be broke off nicely to like $400 million.
And Tucker, as we've said while doing these lists, Kyle Tucker, he's been consistent. Like he's been a 4 to 5 WAR player each of the last 4 seasons, I believe. Right? He's been a consistently really, really, really good player, and that's probably putting it lightly. We can say great with him. But yeah, like we also got to factor in what have you done for me lately, and he only played half the season last year because of an injury. Soto played 157 games, but yeah, like Sean said, if Tucker plays 157 games like Juan Soto did, yeah, he probably has similar numbers if he was at the pace that he was at last year with the Astros. So, yeah, I mean, there's a reason Tucker is number 2 on our list because he's consistently been awesome too.
Left and center didn't necessarily have the star power that I think right field has. Mm-hmm. We went Soto, Tucker, Acuna, Carroll, and we gave Cubs, just like MLB put the 2 Brewers in there. Mm-hmm. I'm putting Seiya in there, even though I know he's not good defensively. He is one of the best hitting right fielders, and he will play some right field. So we made the exception here just to show you that, like, they do have 2 of the top 5 right fielders. But when you have Chourio, Tatis going 6-7, that's 7 players. That's 7 players that make your mouth water as a baseball fan.
Well, one of them makes my mouth water very much because he's a former White Sox. Can we go through the thought process of putting Fernando Tatis below Seiya Suzuki? Because I think if we're doing any fantasy draft,
he had a lower WAR.
I think he had a down year last year.
Yeah, but I mean, he's
3.2 WAR, 3.6 WAR.
He seems to, but is this B WAR or F WAR?
F WAR.
Fangraphs.
All right. I mean, I don't know. It seems like Tatis is kind of figuring it out in right field. And then especially just with his youth, I mean, I'd take Tatis above.
Listen, Chourio could be ahead of both of them too.
I would probably put Suzuki 7th. I think Suzuki's a little high. Especially with talk about him moving to the DH. I mean, like, is he even going to be a right fielder come June?
Where do his numbers stack up offensively against some of those guys? He's right there. Corbin Carroll is a great player. Like, Ronald Acuna to be third is insane. Like when he's healthy, there aren't too many players. Like if I'm building a fantasy baseball team with just the best names of players like that I can come up with and not even thinking about position, Ronald Acuna is on that list, isn't he?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I mean, he would have, I know he played 50 games last year before the knee injury, and he's honestly kind of underperforming those first 50 games. Who knows what would have happened throughout the entire season if he stayed healthy. But, I mean, over the course of his career, he's been one of the better outfielders in baseball, obviously, on such a cheap deal.
Also, just real quick, just for people watching, 102 games from Tatis where he put up 3.2 FWAR, 132 games from Suzuki where he put up 3.6 WAR. I would say it's safe to say if Tatis plays 30 more games, he probably gets that 0.4 FWAR.
Well, okay.
You realize this is the CHGO Cubs podcast.
No, I know.
Right?
I just
okay.
Sure.
To be honest with you, I just thought
Creating
that
discussion.
Don't let the facts get in the way of a good story.
I also
Sean.
just thought that Tatis had a down year in general, so it is what it is.
Craig Brendel says Sox fan getting too much mic time.
Dude, if you ask me who I would take, like over time, I guess I would take Tatis because he's younger. I believe he's younger, right? He's still in his early 20s.
I mean, man.
I'm just again, we've said this all week. Like it's hard to balance. Like, what have you done for me lately, and what is the body of work? So that's the only reason I say that.
26 years old, 28 days. He just turned 26.
Yeah. No, I'm not denying that he's not a great player or anything like that. Yeah.
I want you to pick four. Pick four out of this group where you say, I got to have that player. Okay? So you can only have four. That's where it starts to get tricky. Like the bottom of the list is you could put other guys in there. Lars Nootbaar, I mean, okay. Yastrzemski, okay. Nick Castellanos, not a good fielder, had an off year last year. We loved him in Chicago, but when you go from Tatis, Chourio, Seiya, got to have the guy. Seiya slides on that list for me, as Sean is talking about, but you know that everybody's going to say, I have to have Soto. You know that everybody's going to say, I have to have Tucker. Who are the next two that you have to have if you're saying my list of greatest players has to have those two guys? Who do I really want on my team if I'm making this purely hypothetical team?
Probably Chourio because if he's so young.
Chourio over who? Because then you're taking out either Acuna or Corbin Carroll. And I really like Corbin Carroll.
That's a tough question.
That's why I chopped it at 4. Because if you take Chourio, then you got to take out either Acuna or Carroll, and you're also eliminating Tatis.
Yeah.
I can eliminate Tatis because he seems like a bonehead.
Well, if we go by,
he's made some off the field decisions that have been questionable.
If we go by what have you done for me lately?
Mm-hmm. Chourio's so young. He's like still 20, isn't he?
Acuna now, I believe, is Acuna's injury another ACL, Sean?
Yes, I believe that's his second ACL.
So that's two torn ACLs. He's 26.
Drops him, but
he's 26 years old. So let's just, I think I would take Chourio over Acuna.
Wow.
Over the next 5 years based off these two injuries, how Chourio developed from last year going into the second half of the year. And, I mean, we saw what he kind of did in the postseason for the Brewers, too. He wasn't the reason they lost that series to the Mets. So I just think Chourio is going to be a Cubs killer for a long time. Maybe I would keep Acuna and take Chourio over Carroll.
So you might go Soto, Tucker, Chourio.
Say that again.
Who would be your number 3? You would go Soto, Tucker,
Chourio,
and who?
Those are the 3.
Well, we're doing 4.
Oh, we're doing 4?
Yeah,
my bad.
4.
My bad.
You get a 4th guy.
Wait, there's more. And just to throw out there, he tore his right ACL in 21 and then his left ACL this year. So he's torn now both ACLs.
It scares you. Okay. That's like you're talking D Rose type stuff.
Oh man. I mean, Sean has a point about Seiya and the fact that he's probably not going to play a lot of outfield. Like he'll play some outfield. I think
Seiya's not my top 4.
I think Seiya is a great hitter. He's a great hitter. He's also going to be he's entering his 30s.
Yeah.
So I guess I would probably go Soto, Tucker, Chourio, and Corbin Carroll.
And this is the four
Carroll
to
fourth.
like build a team?
No, it's just, man, I'm telling you, I got to have 4 players. It's not a fantasy
boy.
team. It's like these 4 guys are unbelievable. And we're making a list. We're doing a snake draft, and I'm saying I'm taking these guys. You're not playing. It doesn't have to be a specific place you're playing them or in the order. Just my 4 guys are better than your 4 guys.
I think Soto and Tucker are going to age gracefully. So I would put Soto, Tucker, 1, 2 out of those 4. You can have an argument all day
I
about
think those 2 are guaranteed.
Then I'd probably go Acuna, Chourio, Tatis. So Tatis is right outside of it just because Chourio's so young.
And so
it's a very hard exercise. And so I had to go by, I started thinking, what have you done for me
Carroll
lately?
out.
What have you done for me lately?
Yes.
And like, how do I think they'll be over the next 5 years? Like,
Well, if you're it would help if you had a set of doctors that have looked at Acuna's knee that could tell you this guy's going to be just fine or he's not going to be just fine anymore. And if that were the case, then I would say, okay, fine, Carroll, Chourio, whatever order you want to make it, and I would leave Tatis off.
We all silly like the mayor.